All right, let's talk to our buddy Chris Abel, who is here now talking tech, talking recycling, and talking more robots. Chris.
Yes. So we go to Pittsburgh in the United States, where there are two graduate students from Carnegie Mellon University, and they have started up a company called RoboLoop to solve a particular problem when it comes to recycling televisions. So you can imagine that if you're an e-waste facility, you can get 400,000 pounds of televisions every month. And those big mountains of televisions, they have to be taken apart. And so each television is just this mess of screws that have to be removed in order to be able to take the television apart, sort it into its different materials, and to avoid all the poisonous materials while finding the really valuable things like the rare earth minerals. So these two fellows from Carnegie Mellon University have designed a robot they say is so low cost that most of the parts you can pick up at Home Depot. Then when you assemble it together, which makes it easy to repair, easy to maintain, this large machine has one big, huge camera eye. And you feed it a television, it looks down at the television, and using artificial intelligence can immediately work out the make, the model, the exact television it is. So it now knows the location of every screw in the panel. It then uses a robotic arm to basically suck each screw out. So then it pushes it away, and then human workers can now quickly take the television apart and to be able to put it through the recycling process. It's amazing that they can do this. The robot's called the PL1, and if it's successful, this is something they just launched this year. They hope to be able to easily spread this and duplicate it to other municipalities, other cities, maybe even other countries. I'd love to see one come up here in Canada.
That's interesting. I remember the conversations used to be, remember in the dump before recycling, it'd be like, if you see a TV in the dump, don't go in there, because dump divers would get electrocuted from those old tube TVs. So I imagine that even though that these are newer and better, there's still some very much risks beyond just chemicals too, Chris.
Very much so. So they say the next step in terms of their robot design is to design it so that it can also use artificial intelligence to very easily remove components that have things like mercury. That way, no human worker has to come anywhere near that kind of stuff. There are poisonous materials in televisions. You shouldn't be taking it apart. So the idea is that this low-cost robot, again, I think it's remarkable that it can be made using mainly parts from Home Depot. That freaks me out. I think that's fantastic. Very low cost, easy to maintain, but this is something that they're working on. They think that it can make a big difference because there's so many gains to get from recycling. The rare earth metals that are in these televisions are worth so much money if you can get them.
Oh, what a waste. I mean, to get rid of it. I mean, it's just, that's the one thing about this whole world today, is that we throw so much. Since I moved into an apartment building, that for the first time in forever, I've lived in an apartment building, and when you see how much garbage goes in those dumpsters every week,
Uh-huh.
it's
Yes.
mind blowing. And when you have your own garbage, you know what you're cheating on the recycling with, right? But when you see
Right.
other people's garbage, then you start to see how much they're not participating in recycling. It's
Yes.
mind blowing to me.
It is. And there's so much stuff that gets into the recycling boxes and bins that never actually gets properly recycled. It shouldn't be in the right bin. It's not getting sorted. So a lot of what it does get thrown out for recycling doesn't actually end up being used.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff. Okay, the future is officially here. If I understand this correctly, you actually do eat Michelin star food, but where you sit doesn't matter because the computers are sending you on a trip.
This is cool. Over the years, I've often heard of conceptual dining, restaurants that have sort of a high, cool idea. I know in Montreal, and I think even here in Toronto, there were restaurants where you eat completely in the dark, and then there are blind servers and waiters that come and take care of you. This is a restaurant in New York called Epic Now. And the concept is that you sit down, you and seven other guests, and you're at a sushi bar, and each one of you puts on a virtual reality headset. Now, as you are experiencing an adventure that takes you to different places and locations, ancient Japan, the cosmos, a jungle, for example, each course, then they come and they give you a tasting sample, a morsel that correlates to what you're seeing and experiencing in the virtual world. And what they've done is they've actually developed their own special dish. So it's a dish that exists in the real world, but also the headsets will recognize that dish and you can see the dish in the virtual world. So while you're going on your jungle adventure, if you look down in your hands, there's a dish there, and you can have a server come along and tap you on the shoulder. Now you can bring the dish up to your mouth, and the next serving, there's an 8-course meal, will be waiting for you to have. I love as they describe it, they say, imagine stepping into the perspective of a tiger during a hunt while savoring a perfectly crafted meat dish, or diving into the ocean depths while enjoying the freshest seafood from directly flown directly in from Japan.
So that's wild. So it's not necessarily just by the way you're sitting in Japan eating Japanese food with the vision goggles on, like you're sitting in a like properly like a proper Japanese restaurant. You're talking about like you're the tiger on the hunt and
Yeah,
you're eating steak or whatever, but it's presented as I don't know, a hyena. I don't know if that's a thing, but
they do have vegan options, but in the virtual world, obviously that's not vegan. So you may
definitely
be
not vegan.
eating a vegan morsel, but in the virtual world, you're a tiger, and yes, you're on the hunt. The meal is the prey. I like that they've got rules. They say no taking photos. Your phone has to be put aside throughout the whole experience, and they say aromas play a vital role in shaping the experience. To maintain the integrity of each dish and respect the sensory journey of others, we kindly ask guests to avoid wearing any kind of strong perfume or cologne.
Oh, that's kind of wild. I feel like that's trippy. Like it would really, really play with your senses. Okay. Well, you've got fish on your next one too, so I think that that's just kind of a natural segue.
Yes. So this is interesting in that you've got two different companies. Bass Fishing, which is a fishing app to kind of give assistance to anglers in terms of the fishing season, have realized that they should partner with AccuWeather. And the meteorologists at AccuWeather have been tapped to come along and use their specialty in terms of understanding the change of environment conditions, as well as to get used to the artificial intelligence that AccuWeather uses. And so the meteorologists for AccuWeather have been able to come up with fish forecasts. So if you download Bass Forecast, it can actually tell you the precise time, the precise place, and the method to use, what kind of bait, for example, to catch a specific species of fish. I love that they got a little meter that tells you the mood of bass, for example.
Okay, you're supposed to go fishing and enjoy the day. You're not supposed to take your devices with you to do it. I mean, isn't that the magic of fishing is knowing how to tie your fly, knowing the right secret fishing hole, got to get the time of day right, the temperature right. Like you're hanging out mowing the lawn, you're like, today's the day, the temperature is perfect. I'm going fishing. Doesn't it? I'm all for tech, Chris, but I feel like that kind of steals that.
I do like that they've got sort of a meter between 1 to 10, and they rate the fish's mood between either finesse or power. Are they
Uh,
feeling powerful today? Go find out.
How hungry are the fish? I guess we pulled the fish, and the fish are particularly hungry. They feel like they want fancy food, so you better stop at the bait store. Let's sell that sponsorship and get the fancy food today. You can see where this is headed. Anyway, the tech is all there. Chris Abel, where can everyone find you on X?
You can find me on X at real Chris Abel. That's KrisAbel.
All right, Chris, as always, cool tech, man. Love the robots. Well done.
Thank you.
Shane Hewitt and the Night Shift.